Welcome to Raymond Vineyards, one of the most unique self-guided tours on the world of nature. This is the theater of nature, 5 acts to define the world around us, to understand Mother Nature from the soil, the plant, the insect, the animal, the vineyards, and the world of organic and sustainability, and even more importantly, biodynamic farming. I'm so pleased to introduce you to Mr. Joe Papendick, who manages this unbelievable experience. You're going to take the tour of your life. Mr. Joe Papendick.
Hello, welcome. Let's dive into a tour of the theater of nature. So welcome here to Act 1. This is about the soil, and in these 4 garden beds, we're explaining the difference between the soil as it was when we started the garden 6 years ago, and then what we've done by adding compost. So you can see beds number 1 and number 2 are the natural soil that was here, and then in beds 3 and 4, we've added an inch of compost every time we plant. So the same day we planted bush beans in bed number 1 and the same seed in bed number 3. And you can see the difference here of what a little bit of compost does to help the soil. I'm gonna dive in here. This has been aged for about 4 to 5 months, and that's our healthy soil. The compost is built from all of our waste here on site. So our green clippings from the lawn, sweepings from the goats and the sheep and the chickens, as well as layering weeds, our cut flowers, and food residues left over from crops. Act 2, we'll dive into Act 2. This is all about the plants. And of course, being a vineyard, we want to talk about the grapevine. It's our main focal point. But in a biodynamic system, nothing is on its own, nothing's isolated. Everything is interconnected, and we like to highlight the relationship between those plants. So here, of course, we have Cabernet Sauvignon, but below we have a permanent cover of fescue grass that's been mowed and weed whacked. It's allowed to stay as a mulch underneath the vine, retaining soil moisture, keeping the dust down, keeping the dust off the berries to allow for the berries to be cleaner and deter spider mites and different insects and pests. Come out here in the middle of our vineyard, we have a little rose garden. The rose garden was planted to honor the different traditions that roses have had with the grapevine. Historically, it was thought that the rose would show infliction before the grapevine. So you would see powdery mildew, or you would see a disease or a pest attack the rose first before it got to the grapevine. Of course, here on our team, we have a wonderful, well-trained staff that's also always out there in the vineyard, looking and checking things. And now the roses aren't quite as compatible to the grapevine as they were originally understood. Act 3, throughout the entire garden and the Raymond property, we've planted plants to attract beneficial insects and serve as an insectary. In this case, we're in the current process of replanting for fall and winter, as the rest of the garden is thriving with lots of flowers. But you can see here the coreopsis, little bits of white sweet alyssum throughout here. These will attract beneficial insects that will be your first line of defense against pests. And mimicking the success that an ecosystem has in nature, if you have a healthy system of insects here, they will keep the pest in balance, and you won't have one pest devour the crop, but you'll have them come in, nibble a little bit, and then you have a beneficial insect there to take it there and attack that pest and alleviate your need to spray insecticides or pesticides and keep everything naturally balanced. For the ones that the insects don't get, we have a bat hotel. Here's our bat hotel up there. This is a model of a bat box that can attract up to 300 bats. Statue of a cow. In biodynamics, the cow is very important. So we unfortunately don't have enough room on this site to have our own cow, so we brought our statue in. But we do use her cow horns and cow manure in making our biodynamic preparations. And so we'll bring in from a local farm the cow horn and organic cow manure. Stuff the horn with the cow manure, and in the winter time, in the fall, around October, bury that in the soil, and let it age and decompose slowly all winter long in a very fertile location. Dig that out in the springtime. When it's fresh, it's decomposed, it smells like the earth, smells like compost, and we'll make a tea mixing that compost with some water and spray it on the field and on all of the beds before we plant. So here are our chickens. I'm able to dump all my weeds before I put it in the compost pile into here. They nibble through that, eat all the weeds, provide, of course, wonderful eggs for us. These are our French alpine goats, and they're friendly, but they also help, once again, like the chickens. I feed all my weeds, dump it in here. They nibble through that. Whole array of an orchard full of stone fruit, nectarines, peaches that we've been picking off since May. A lot of food for our culinary department. lettuce, tomatoes, sweet Italian peppers, sowing more chard and crops for early fall. So Act 5 is about wholeness. We have bringing everything together here. Different biodynamic herbs, yarrow, stinging nettle, valerian, chamomile, the horsetail here behind me, the bark from an oak tree. These are all used in order to bring in dynamic energies and minerals and nutrients to the compost piles and onto your site. Here we have our hops. This is a Cascade hop. Right now we're in the beginning of August. So it's starting to get ripe. Probably by another 3-4 weeks, they'll get there. You can start to see the little yellow glands that are releasing that wonderful aroma. Oh, and then we're growing hops. So we have hops here and then another section in the garden, a few other plants. We're gonna open a brewery soon. So a brewery will open up in March. We'll feature, of course, estate-grown hops in some of the beers. Thank you for joining us on our video tour of the Theater of Nature. Love to invite you back in person. Come out through here. You can walk through, taste a tomato, smell some hops, smell the flower, and then, of course, taste our delicious wine.